And then two, what you also said is, I feel like, to sum it all up, is building relationships with the agents. Like, you're not expecting your staff to do everything for you. You're actually getting on the phone with them. You're actually speaking with them. You're doing a lead strategy call, which I think is so important for agency owners and people who are aspiring to build a business. Is like, you have to break down. There's so many different types of leads. It can be overwhelming. And what do you suggest? And at the same time, what I tell people is like, what I like, you may not like. So I recommend you trying them all out at some point in time. But, you know, if you have this, let's start with this, let's start with this. But it just boils down to being there for people.
I mean, it takes a lot of extra time.
Yep.
And I think that, you know, we make a little bit of money and we value our time so much. And it's like, I don't have time for this agent. Oh, I can't believe this person's hitting me up again. And at a certain point, like I said in the beginning, you start to learn who you're going to spend more time with. You start to learn who you're going to answer every single phone call versus the ones that you can just quickly answer a text. Because there's some people that they call you just to ask questions that they could find at any of our various resources. Like, they go to any of the team websites, Andrew's website, Grady's website, your website, Rob's website, any of these, and they can find where to find the quote tool. Like, there's someone who hits you up with ridiculous things, and it's like at a certain point, you don't even answer those questions because you know that they just need to find the resource. But it's like, I tell people, if you're calling me and you're looking for genuine feedback, you want to get better, and like that's the attitude that you have in the call, I'm going to answer your phone call every single time. And if you're the person who's calling just to complain or just to vent, you know, I'll probably listen to that once or twice. But at the end of the day, I'm also going to say, hey, like, this isn't what like this relationship's supposed to look like. Also, one of my biggest pet peeves is someone who thinks I'm their technical support agent. And I'm not IT. I'm not your technical support agent because you can't get the Aetna app to work on your phone, whatever it is. And, you know, a lot of the times, you know, I don't want to, you know, be stereotypical with it. It happens with older agents.
Yep.
And, you know, there's a kind way to have that conversation. You know, Gage, you know, I'm here to help, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you this one time. But I want you to know that I'm not your technical support. My staff's not your technical support. And if you're struggling this much to pull up the quote tool, you're going to struggle heavily in the home when I tell you to pivot to prosperity and you've never written a prosperity application. Or I tell you to go and open up NLG for the first time and you don't, like, you're going to struggle. So like, I need you to know that like this is going to be really hard for you if you can't overcome this thing. So I'm just like upfront with people. So it's like, hey, I'm here to help. I'm like, of course I'm going to be kind and I'm going to help you this time. But like, if you're calling me for technical support all the time, like, that's just not like what our relationship is supposed to be. My job is supposed to be to give you feedback and coach you on how to sell insurance and how to set better appointments. It's not to tell you where the quote tool is, because you can find that within all the resources that we have.
Yeah, and the right people will figure it out. You know, a lot of people do want to get their hand held through the process, more or less. But I love that you said that it's the first time, right? When it happens, you address it now, so it's not an issue later on.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times we can be very nice and, you know, holding their hand through this, holding their hand through that, holding their hand through this, holding their hand through that. And then, you know, a month in, we're still holding their hand.
So there's kind of like a couple stages of agents I look at. Like, first you're dependent, then you're independent, then you're dependent on. Like, we've reached a point where we're depended on by a lot of different agents, but like before we could get to that point, we had to become independent. So when I first started, I depended on Grady to answer my in-home phone call. Because if he didn't answer my in-home phone call, I was like, oh, I don't even know what to do. And, you know, thankfully I got some other people's phone numbers when, you know, he wasn't available in some of those rare situations. But, you know, I was dependent on him to point me in the right direction. I was dependent on him to answer. I was dependent on his coaching. And then I got to a point where I ran my first 100 appointments, and now I felt pretty independent. And okay, I can do this. You know, I pretty much know, like, most of the time where to go with the client, and you know, I can, if I just run up the numbers, I'll be totally fine. I'm independent. The goal, I think, is to get agents to independent as quickly as possible. If you have an agent that's been dependent on you for a year, I mean, that's way too long. I mean, like 2 months is too long.
Yep.
And it's not that I'm not there to help them. It's just, if they're dependent. Like, it's like, dude, this is the 16th time that you've called me and said she's 64 with high blood pressure and metformin. Where do I go? It's like, dude, America Eagle. Like,
yeah.
It's like,
it's not resonating.
Yeah, it's like, it's just somehow it's not clicking. But it's like, other agents, they'll be like, okay, he's told, I noticed the pattern here. I've done that same thing 3 times. Okay, I never have to call him in that situation again. And it's like, telling agents that if they're going to do this long term, they have to learn to be resourceful. They have to learn to be resilient in the home. They have to learn how to, they have like a figure it out mentality. Like, the client doesn't have a voided check, okay? Bank statement, little membership card in their wallet. Is there, what is there a banking app? What is it? Hey, my iPad lost phone service. Okay, well, do they have Wi-Fi? Yeah, they have Wi-Fi, but it's like buried in a room. Like, I'm gonna go crawl through the hoarder's house to find the back of the Wi-Fi router to get the Wi-Fi password to be able to write this policy when they have the voided check in hand. Like, resourcefulness and resilience in the home, like, it's just something that can't necessarily be taught. Like, it's just something agents have to develop, and like, those are the people you spend time with.
Correct.
Like, the people who, like, the person, I couldn't get Wi-Fi, so I left the home. Like, dude, come on. Like, the guy said he was ready to buy, but I didn't have Wi-Fi to put the application through. I'm like, dude, but did he have Wi-Fi? Yeah, he had Wi-Fi. Why didn't you go and crawl and find the password?
Yeah.
So it's
Or have paper apps.
or have paper apps, and there you go. It's just a whatever it takes mentality, and I think you find the people who you see overcome and make it through in some of those situations, and that's the person I want to spend all my time with. The person who's like constantly like making excuses, and like you hear Sean and Andrew all the time, like, oh, it was the client this and the client that, versus like we just weren't able to get it done today. Like, you're taking like full responsibility, and this is something I've kind of preached to my team lately. It's just like 100% personal responsibility for everything in your life, everything in your business. It's not the client's fault. It was your ability to not connect with that client. And it's like finding and teaching people that mentality, and it's like you do that for somebody, and I mean, that's going to pay dividends outside of Family First Life. I mean, that's just going to pay dividends in their life of like, now they take 100% responsibility for everything that they do.